I'm Drew Barantini. This is Front-End Formations, Level 1, Overview and Updates. In this level, we're going to give a brief overview of HTML5, we're going to give an overview of CSS3, talk about some of the updated HTML elements in HTML5, and then talk about the updates to some existing HTML tags in HTML5. Now we're going to start by giving an overview of HTML5. HTML5 is really only a definition used to refer to the latest version of HTML, the latest standard, and it includes several new features, such as new HTML elements and attributes, full CSS3 support, video and audio elements, 2D and 3D graphics, local storage, and a local SQL database. Now, in this course, we're just going to focus on the new HTML elements and attributes, and also the full CSS3 support. So now that we've given an overview of HTML5, let's give a brief overview of CSS3. Like HTML5, CSS3 is really only used as a definition for the latest standard of CSS. And there are several new features in CSS3, and we'll cover several of those here, such as border radius, box shadow and text shadow, transitions and transforms, gradients, multiple backgrounds, and font face. Now, text shadow and font face actually predate CSS3, but they're still important components to modern CSS, so we're going to cover them in this course. So now that we've given a brief overview of CSS3, let's move on to talk about some of the updated HTML elements in HTML5. And those elements include the doc type, the meta declaration, the script tag, and the link tag. So let's start by talking about the doc type. Now in HTML 4.01, there were a few different doc types. We had the strict doc type, the transitional doc type, and the frame set doc type. Now these were really difficult to remember, and you were used to just copying and pasting them from project to project. In HTML5 though, we have one simple doc type, and it looks like this. Now a quick convention note here, when you see this HTML5 logo on the top of a code block, it signifies that the code being shown is the updated HTML5 version, like it is here. The next HTML5 element that's been updated is the meta declaration. Now in HTML4, it looked something like this. You recognize this because it's the tag you put inside the head of your document to specify the character encoding for your HTML document. Now, this is again long like those doc types in HTML4, so it's something that we were copy and pasting from project to project. But in HTML5, it's really simple. You just need to specify the charset attribute, and in this case, our character encoding is UTF-8. The next HTML tag that receives an update in HTML5 is the script tag, and this is what you use to reference external JavaScript files or write inline JavaScript. Now, in HTML4, you need to specify the type attribute to be text/JavaScript, and in HTML5, we don't need this type attribute because the browser will infer that JavaScript is the type. In HTML 4.01, the link tag required the type attribute to be text/CSS. In HTML5 though, we don't need this type attribute at all. The browser will infer that CSS is the type for the link tag. So now that we've talked about some of the updated HTML elements in HTML5, let's wrap up this level by talking about the updates to the existing HTML elements in HTML5. The I and B and M and strong tags were traditionally considered presentational tags. But in HTML5, they've been given new semantic meanings. The I and B tags were considered font style declarations in HTML4. The I tag rendered text in an italic font style, while the B tag rendered text in a bold font style. In HTML5 though, these tags have new meanings. The I tag now represents text that is in an alternate voice or mood, and the B tag represents text that is stylistically offset. So now let's look at some example uses for the I tag. We have things like a taxonomic designation, a technical term, an idiomatic phrase from another language, a transliteration, a thought, a ship name in Western text. Now these are real technical terms that the spec gives us, so let's look at a more practical example of using the I tag. So here we have this paragraph text, "I hope this works," he thought. We're wrapping the "I hope this works" in an I tag to designate this text as being in an alternate voice or mood. It's considered a thought. So now let's look at some example uses for the B tag. We have things like keywords in a document, product names in a review, actionable words in interactive software, or something like an article lead. Now these examples are a little bit better than the ones we were given for the I tag, but again, let's look at a more practical example of using the B tag. Here we have a paragraph, and we're wrapping the text in a B tag with a class of lead. Now we're doing this because we want this text to be stylistically offset from the paragraphs that follow it, because it's going to be an article lead. And in addition, we add a class of lead to the B tag to give it further semantic meaning. Next up, we have the M and strong tags. And in HTML4, the M tag meant emphasis, while the strong tag meant strong emphasis. But in HTML5, they have new meanings. The M tag now means stress emphasis, while the strong tag now means strong importance. So let's look at some examples of these. So here we have a paragraph with the text, "Make sure to sign up before the day of the event, September 16th, 2013. We're wrapping the word before in an M tag in order to give stress emphasis to the word before. It's a linguistic change. For the strong tag, in that same sentence, we're wrapping the date September 16th, 2013 in a strong tag in order to give strong importance to the date of the event. With that, you now have a basic introduction to the changes in HTML5. Let's see what you can do with some challenges. Let's look at some example uses. Let's look at some example uses. Good lord! X samples. They're no longer samples.